This is my Tesla Model Y, and in this video I'm going to show you the space saver spare wheel I bought for this, and I'll also talk about puncture repair kits, and if you've got one of those vehicles, why you should be considering this for yours as well. So like most modern vehicles, the Teslas do not have spare wheels, but these also don't have a puncture repair kit either. 90% of the viewers of this channel are not subscribed. I'm sorry to ask, but it would help greatly if you would. Just press the subscribe button. It's free and it shows YouTube you like this sort of vehicle related content. If you want to be notified when new videos are released, please click on the bell button also. Thank you, it really helps more than you would imagine. So on the channel I've already done a video about what I carry in my Tesla to sort myself out if I get a puncture. So if you want to see that video, I'll put a link to it at the top of the screen and in the video description below. But I think it's a lot better to carry some puncture repair equipment in your car and try to at least sort yourself out rather than waiting for roadside recovery, because the reality is that can now take many hours. I know of cases where it's taken 5, 6, 7, 8 hours before roadside recovery comes and helps you. And with Tesla, the roadside recovery that you get with a new car only covers you for a puncture if you have that puncture within 50 miles of a Tesla service centre. You do need to purchase some sort of additional roadside recovery service like the AA for example if you need help sorting out a puncture. So I haven't bothered with that because I carry everything in the front for puncture repairs, and what I now have got is a space saver wheel as well. So I thought I'd make this video because it's all about sharing information, and this will help other Tesla owners. So as you can see, I bought a steel space saver, and this came from the wheel shop, and this was £200, and it's a 19-inch spare wheel. And in this video I'm going to fit it to make sure it fits and make sure the brake calipers fit in there, and also show you the tools I bought to enable me to change the wheel on the side of the road. So when it comes to buying a space saver, there are various different ones you can buy. I bought the steel one because it was cheaper, but it's also got an additional benefit because I think it's also a bit lighter, so a bit easier to handle. And I didn't realise at the time, but this is going to be one huge benefit: it's also narrower, and that's going to have an advantage when I come to hide it underneath the boot floor. So that's going to be a future video where I'm going to try to get this mounted underneath the floor so it's not taking up the boot space. So most people end up buying the aluminium space saver, typically from Road Hero. They're £100 more. I think they're also heavier, but the aluminium one has a wider profile tyre, which is probably a bit better when it's fitted to the car, but at the end of the day you can only drive 50 miles an hour on these, and they are for emergency use only. But the Road Hero aluminium space saver has a 155 tyre, so that means it's 155 millimeters wide, and this is a 125, so being that little bit narrower is going to make it that bit easier to bury this underneath the existing floor. And some websites say you can put 17, 18 or 19-inch wheels on the Tesla if you've got the 19-inch Gemini wheels, as I've got. If you've got the 20-inch performance wheels, then that's a different story. This one is the 19-inch, and I went for the 19-inch after looking at the brake calipers, and I do wonder whether the 17 or 18-inch wheel will actually fit around the brakes on the Tesla. If you've got one of those, let me know in the comments below. So I went with the 19 just because there would be no doubt about clearance, but of course it does make your wheel that little bit bigger. If you don't know, when you have a space saver you can use a smaller wheel because it is an emergency get me home type wheel, not a permanent wheel that you're going to keep on the car for very long. It just gets you home or gets you to the garage to get your puncture repaired. So if you've bought a space saver, the other thing you really want to do is just practice and put it on the car, and also make sure it does fit and clear your brake calipers. And that's exactly what I'm going to do on this video. I'm going to fit this to make sure that this fits and works, because you don't want to be leaving that until you're stuck on the side of the road, because if you find then it doesn't, you're then absolutely snookered. So I'm going to fit this and also show you the tools that I've bought to jack the car up and change the wheel. So I'm going to fit this on the front because your brakes are bigger on the front than they are at the back. So when you buy a spare wheel, you can buy the wheel on its own, as I've done, or you can buy it with a toolkit. And from this supplier, the toolkit was only £20 extra. But I didn't do that because you can only imagine for £20 the sort of quality of the brace and jack that you're going to get for that sort of money. Some of them are even cheaper, £10 or £15 extra. And the Tesla, while it's not a massively heavy car, it's 1950 kilos, I think. You don't want to be jacking up the corner of a car with some cheap rubbishy scissor jack. So instead, I bought the wheel from the spare wheel supplier, and then I chose the brace and the jack myself, which are more heavy duty and going to be safer, because I don't mind spending a little bit more on tools which are higher quality, are going to last and going to be safer and going to work, and I can use them for other things, of course. So I bought a brace and a scissor jack here. And all of this stuff I'm going to link in the video description below. So this is the Ultra Black edition. This is a 2-ton scissor jack. Comes in a bag like this. As you can see, I've not used it yet, but this is a bit heavier duty, a bit more suitable, and it's also got a ratchet sort of spanner there and an extension bar. But yeah, it's a decent bit of equipment, and the reason why I went for this as well is it's got a flat top, so that's more suitable for the jacking points on the Tesla. So for the brace, I bought a Wiseman one. Wiseman is really nice tools. This one was quite expensive. I can't remember exactly what it was, but I'll put it up on the screen. But it's a quality bit of kit. But I've never used one of these star type braces before, so I quite fancied trying this. So what you've got is a 19mm end, a 21mm end, and a 17mm end there, and you can then put that through there, put it through the end, get some additional leverage like that. So overall I thought this was a good solution, and it folds up flat like that and doesn't take up much space in the car. So the reason why I went for this was really that leverage you've got when you use it like that, because on the Tesla the wheel nuts are torqued up to 175 Newton meters, and I think you would struggle on the roadside with most additional braces, even the extended handle braces, whereas this, I think having it at a right angle works a bit better than the braces which tend to be at a funny angle like that. And again, that's why I think you should be testing all of this before you have a puncture on the roadside. Do it on your drive on a Sunday, make sure you can take a wheel off, make sure you can undo the wheel nuts, because at 175 Newton meters they're going to be very stiff. And I might have to carry a metal pole to put some more leverage on this. I don't know yet, so that's what I'm going to try. And then it means when you're on the roadside in that dangerous situation, you're prepared, you know how to change your wheel, you've got the tools that can do the job, and you can get the job done very quickly and safely and be on your way. So the first job is to jack the car up a little bit and get the wheel off. So I've got a Tesla puck here which I'm going to put in that jacking point on the corner of the battery pack. This is one of the old style, which is a bit, the diameter of this protrusion is a bit too big for the Model Y. It's for the original Model 3s. So putting a bit of grease in there is going to stop that getting stuck. So that's gone in there nicely. So then get the jack underneath the puck there and wind that up. It might be worth also carrying a bit of ply so you can extend the foot, particularly if you're on soft ground. But anyway, you can decide whether you want to bother with that, but at the moment I'm jacking up on tarmac, so that's going to be good enough for what I've got to do today. So what I'm going to do is swap that out for the ratchet. Which makes the job a lot easier. So before I jack that up any higher, I next need to take the wheel nuts off before that tyre is actually off the tarmac. So I've got to take the wheel cover off, which is the first time I've taken this off since fitting it. So it'll be very interesting to see whether the clips are scratching the spokes on the alloys, which they're not actually. That's good. So these are 21mm, so get the 21mm end, and then you can either put that there or at the end. Let's do it there. Wow, they come undone really easily. I thought I was going to have to get my foot on that. And then what you can do with this is then do that. Actually, you see there's some little ball bearings there, so that then locks it. So you can do that. Let's get the wheel off the ground next. Just check that you're correctly in the middle of the puck and it's not slipping or getting too near an edge. So with the wheel off the ground, we can then take the wheel nuts off. So that fits there nicely, and there's a gap of about the thickness of my finger between the back of the caliper and the inside edge of the steel wheel. So next you would drop the jack down so the tyre is on the ground, and that will stop this from spinning, and then you can do those wheel nuts up and torque them up to what feels like about 175 Newton meters. So in reality, putting as much force as you can using your brace. So there we go. There's the skinny space saver wheel on the Tesla Model Y. So there we go. That obviously fits fine. I'm glad I didn't go for the 18 actually. So that's the 19-inch wheel, and that's going to get me out of trouble. So if I have a puncture, I've got the option that I can try to repair the puncture with the other stuff that I carry, which I've covered in the other video, or I can go ahead now and just replace the wheel. So my next task is to see how I can hide that spare wheel under the floor and keep the floor flat without raising that floor up. So that will be coming in a future video. As I said, I'll put links to everything in the video description below, and any other further additional information. So I'll put links to this steel spare wheel that I bought, and also the aluminium versions and any others I can find, and links to the tools I bought. Those were both on Amazon actually. And then also a link if you want to know more about the black base nor wheel covers I've got on this car. And obviously, because I'm not on the roadside here, I'm torquing these back up to 175 Newton meters. And this Hayner jack is nice quality as well. I know there's cheaper ones and they will look very similar, but why I chose this is because it's got a flat top, and when you look at the dimensions as well, it goes lower and a bit taller than a lot of others, and of course this can take the weight. And in my mind, this is something you don't want to be skimping on and ending up with a bit of cheap rubbish, because this is obviously, as far as safety goes, this is the most important part of all of it. So that'll do for this video. If you've found it useful, please do click the thumbs up, that really does help. Do subscribe to the channel, and also below is a link to a playlist where you can see other videos on the Tesla Model Y. Okie doke, I'll see you on the next one.